Oh, you sent a tweet out to me? Should I go check it? Okay. Okay, perfect. I'll retweet it. Great. There you go. Okay.
Good evening, welcome to the Fowler show here on this lovely Wednesday night, Hump Day Wednesday. Everybody, welcome along. And we're delighted to have on this person who I did not, this is a surprise to me. I'm glad I'm able to get on the show with a little help from our friend who was on the show last week, Goldilocks. This is a cool person, and we're going to have a cool person on for you this week. Mayra Gomes, how are you doing? Joining us all the way in Hollywood. How are you doing?
That's today? Right. Good afternoon from Hollywood. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Now I'm glad we were able to fix things up and to have you on the show today. This is what's best for business here today. And what's been going on in your life this month so far?
What has been going on in my life? What has not been going on in my life? There is a lot going on. Have you been following the show at all?
Yes, on YouTube.
You have. That's amazing. So I've been working with the NWA for the past 3 months.
Nice.
And it's been a very exciting and unpredictable ride so far, to say the least. So that is really my main focus of what's going on with me right now. But I have other projects too that I'm working on.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear. And hopefully you can give a bit of a teaser later on in the show of what those projects may be. You'd have to tell exactly what it is, because you might not be allowed to tell. But let's rewind to people here in the UK who may never even heard of Mayra Gomes before. So I've done a little bit of research on myself, and you can come in at any point and you can say that's wrong or whatever you want to say. So you were born in Brazil, lovely Brazil. We love Brazil.
That's right. Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, and it was the home of the 2014 World Cup, I think it was.
That's right.
We had a goal theme tune in the UK called Brazil, Brazil, Brazil. I love the song, and it's a gorgeous country, and
it is.
And tell us about growing up there and the cultures of Brazil, if you can.
Well, sure. I grew up in Rio de Janeiro. You guys probably know Rio through the gorgeous beaches and the gorgeous scenery. Mm-hmm. It really is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I had a very good upbringing, honestly. My father was a writer. He was a very prolific writer. He wrote plays, soap operas, novels. He wrote so much during his lifetime. And my mother was an actress. So I pretty much grew up in a world of television and theater, and I had an upbringing where creativity, being creative, was very much encouraged. So I pretty much grew up like writing my own plays and putting my plays together for my dad's friends to watch. Me and my sister, my younger sister, we were always either writing or acting or singing. And that's pretty much what our upbringing was like, to be honest.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a wonderful childhood, and a lot of fun things to do. With your father and with your sister, and of course the gorgeous country which is Brazil as well. Talk to me about what got you inspired to start writing your own novels and even your own books as well, which is very impressive, by the way. You do
Thank you.
everything. You know, you've kind of done everything there is to do in different in different topics and different things. It's quite good. I like.
Yeah. I don't like to stick to one thing. I don't think anyone should. You should do a little bit of everything they want to do. But going back to writing, I think I pretty much was born a writer. Like I said, my father was a writer, and I looked up to him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, writing was just the most natural thing. Like, you have a feeling, you go on your diary and you write about it. And I got into the habit of writing diaries very young. I think I started writing when I was maybe 6 or 7, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Like, I still have all those diaries.
Wow.
Yeah, so I pretty much like narrated my life daily from when I was like 7 up until when I was 15, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back and like reread all my high school drama, everything that happened. I can remember everything. And I think at 15, I stopped the diaries because that's when people started blogging online.
Gotcha.
And I became a blogger online as well by the time I was 15. And at the time, my blog drew some attention. I talked a lot about like my personal life and my personal feelings, and I was always very honest and raw in the way that I talked about things, which was what attracted a lot of young readers to me at the time. So when I was 16 years old, that's when I started writing my first book. The aftermath, the emotional aftermath to hit me, but it certainly did when I was a teenager. So by 16, I was having problems with depression, and like I was having problems in school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I wanted to be a writer. And my mom at the time encouraged me to start writing a book. So I wrote my first book when I was 16, and crazy enough, it became a bestseller when I was 16 years old.
Wow, that is very impressive. Is that in Brazil or in New York?
Yeah, that's in Brazil.
Ah, very well done. Congrats.
Yeah. And pretty much that kickstarted my writing career. After I released that book and I had success with that book, I started working for the largest newspaper in Brazil. So I started my writing career really, really young, and I was kind of just thrown into it. I started at the newspaper, and then like I wrote for several different magazines. I worked as a literature columnist for MTV News, so I had my own segment on MTV.
Wow.
I was a reporter on VH1. I wrote for Rolling Stone magazine. There's just so much. I couldn't even remember every place that I've written for at this point, because I started so young and I had so many great opportunities. And I have 3 other books also. I have 4 books.
And tell us as well then, can we expect any more novels and books from you in the future? That's what we want to know. Are you still passionate about writing as you are back when you were younger, or are you, as you said before, moving on to different things, try out different things, and of course we will speak about other things you've been involved in as well. But yeah.
Right. Well, I think that you can't just grow out of writing. It kind of is who I am, and I will always need to write just for like my own mental health. So yeah, I'm still writing, but I do think that it's a lot harder now for me to concentrate, sitting down and writing a full book. I think just because how much the world has changed and people's attention spans changed. I could in the past maybe sit in front of my computer and write for like 4 hours. Today it's a little harder for me to do that. There's so many interruptions and our brains are going to so many different places.
Yeah.
It is harder for me to write nowadays, but not because I am less passionate, just because of the world and the way things are. I think the way my life is, the way my brain works. But yes, I am working on a new book, and hopefully I'll be done by the end of the year, actually.
Cool. Well, again,
yeah,
we look forward to hearing more about your new book and what it is going to be based on about. And again, you can follow Mayra on social media. Her links are on your screen. You can see Twitter, Mayra Diaz Gomes, and again on Instagram, Mayra Diaz Gomes there on the screen. As well, and then you went into reporting, as you say. You worked for different columnists in Brazil, like as you said, VH1 Brazil, MTV. Was that MTV in Brazil or in the US?
That was MTV in Brazil. Most of the things I mentioned, they were in Brazil.
Gotcha.
I moved to the US when I was 21.
Yeah.
So after 21, the work starts being in the US.
Nice. Because I read that you came to the US quite young, and you came to Hollywood, where you are right now, of course, and being a part of.
And I am still here 10 years later.
Yes.
So I survived Hollywood.
I bet it's lovely to live and experience Hollywood. You know, kind of thing, like living in one of the best cities in the world. California, and you moved there, and again, I could be wrong, you might have done something else before this, but you became a reporter in Hollywood there, and you've interviewed so many different celebs like Vin Diesel, Ricky Gervais, the Muppets, Backstreet Boys as well, so many fantastic people, and who were some of the funnest interviews you got to do?
The first interview that I've ever gotten to do, that's a really good question, and I should know that answer. I think it was like of some local bands in Brazil. Like it started out with some local bands in Brazil, but my first ever journalistic assignment when I joined the newspaper was to interview Marilyn Manson.
Wow.
So that's how it all started.
Wow, very impressive. Very impressive. And
I'm a huge Marilyn Manson fan, so it was like my dream was coming true.
They're great. They're great, aren't they? And what were some of your favorite moments of interviewing some of these great celebs that you probably watch on TV and thought, wow, I don't think I ever sit down and actually get to talk to them for a few minutes about their project or something going in their life, kind of thing. So have you got any special moments?
Oh my God, there's so many. I was trying to think today of maybe just a list of my favorite people that I've interviewed, and I have been so blessed to have contact with so many people that are brilliant in so many levels. And I think that my favorite thing about it all was like you learn something from everybody that you talk to. I think that's true for anyone really, but in this case we're talking about people who are already reached a level of success in their career, and there is a reason why they reached that level of success, and usually they have things to tell you that can potentially change your life and how you view things and inspire you, because at the end of the day everyone was somebody with a dream in the beginning. Vin Diesel worked as a bouncer, for example, and there's just so many different things that you learn about people's paths and just about not giving up on your dreams. I have so many amazing memories. God, A really great one, I guess, was interviewing Arnold Schwarzenegger in Atlanta, actually. I interviewed Arnold for Rolling Stone magazine, which was like a great privilege. And Arnold at the time actually asked if I wanted an exclusive into the Arnold Classic that was going to go on in Brazil.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so I felt like sort of a bond with Arnold at that point. You mentioned Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel's been a great person also to work with. Every time I interview him, it's a great interview. It's probably one of my favorite memories. I interviewed him a little bit after the passing of his friend.
Oh yeah.
And it was a very, very intense and emotional interview, and he actually cried during my interview. And I was just very thankful to him for opening up to me and, trusting me with his emotions and knowing that I wasn't going to use it in any improper way. And I felt like we did a really good job in that interview, and it got a lot of people talking.
It did, and I think it went viral as well. That interview.
It did. Yeah, it did.
It was quite a powerful clip of that interview as well, which I think you've saved onto your story on Instagram. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I highlighted it because it's one of my favorite moments for sure.
Yeah, from TV Junkies. Is that right? Is that the right
story?
Yeah,
it's called Junkets.
Oh, Junkets. Well, my apologies.
Yeah,
my apologies.
That's the term we use. Junkets.
Gotcha. I was thinking when I seen it, I'm thinking, I'm wondering what this could mean. So thank you for explaining that.
Of course.
And as well, this is quite different because usually you're asking the questions when you interview people, so we get to turn it on you for once. So it's very different for you because I know when I've been asked questions before, I get quite nervous and like what to say. So I can totally understand if you're a bit nervous.
I actually feel more comfortable answering the questions than asking the questions.
Really? Okay.
Even though that has been my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel really nervous when I'm going to do an interview. I don't know if you do, but I always feel nervous.
Do, yeah. Yeah, it depends who it is. Like when I
say you're going to interview Vin Diesel, for example.
Yeah, I'll be definitely
you would feel a little nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, and even yourself, because you've got a big following on Twitter. 54,000 followers. So I do feel a bit nervous having you on the show. Yeah, I do. And
don't be nervous. I'm totally cool.
You are indeed, and you are one of the a cool person with you and Goldilocks, two good people who are always friends of the Fowler show.
And shout out to Goldie.
Yeah.
Thank you for introducing us.
Yes, because I heard that just to go a bit off the script here, but I like just talking about because I know she emailed me last week because I emailed her after I got in contact with you by email, and then she said she was going to speak to you when she saw you, and she said that she had a discussion with you about my show. Which is great. So thank you for agreeing to be on my show through the discussion. I'm sure she was saying fantastic things about her time on the Fowler show last Thursday.
Of course she was.
Because she was because I saw a post and she said that even though she dominated some of the show, as she said in her words, I don't think she did dominate. I think we had a fair play, but it was a good show, and we put it on the show. And nice. So you.
I'm so sorry that my headphones are tangled. If anyone out there has like OCD.
Oh yeah.
Like my headphones are tangled. Sorry.
Yeah, she rushed out to get them to hear me better. So blame me for that, everybody.
Yeah.
But then you went from reporting into modeling. I think it was. Was that right? Was that your next step, or did you do something else before modeling?
I think modeling was just always a part of it.
Yeah.
It was always just a part of promoting whatever I was doing.
Gotcha.
I guess it started out with my books. You know, like when I was publicizing my books, when I was doing articles about my books, I was also being photographed. And so pretty much at 16, I started having the experience of being photographed professionally, and it just kind of started off like that. Like, we're doing an article about you. You want to take some pictures, and then it just kind of went on into more serious modeling work. But it wasn't really anything that I like actively pursued. I feel like it is just a part of everything else.
Gotcha. And did you enjoy modeling as well, or did you not
Yeah,
like that?
I like modeling. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay.
I enjoy it.
No, I just thought to answer because I know some people might not like certain aspects of modeling and things like that, or what the job may entail. So I just wanted to ask that question and to see what you think. And then I read something as well. I saw something as well. Now, did you? I could be wrong about this, but did you play Ronda Rousey in a movie or something? Because I saw a picture when you were bruised and it looked quite painful. The picture you took and you tagged. Well, not tagged. You put. I'll get
Oh
you next
no!
time.
You know what that was? That was my Halloween costume.
Oh, was it your Halloween costume? Okay. Wow, it was very. It looked very real. I tell you that for sure. It looked very real.
It was my Ronda Rousey Halloween costume.
Why did you pick that image to go? The one where she's all bruised up.
I've done everything there is to do costume-wise in Halloween. Like, I don't have any more ideas. I guess it just came to my mind, like, Ronda Rousey, let's go for it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What was the reaction after that? After you post that image on Instagram, what was the reaction?
People thought it was real. And
Yeah, I did.
In a real fight.
Yeah, I guess.
I was getting text messages like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Do you guys really think that I just fought Holly Holm?"
Yeah.
Like, what world do you live in? I did not fight Holly Holm.
Well, never say never. Maybe one day.
Maybe, who knows?
But yeah, there we go. At least we can rest that sword. But it would be a cool movie though if you were playing Ronda Rousey. Imagine that'd be quite a good movie.
It's funny that you mentioned Ronda and movie because I thought you meant because there are some red carpet photos. I went to the premiere of a documentary that came out about her.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the wrong name, but I believe it's called In the Eyes of My Father or In My Father's Eyes.
Okay.
It was actually directed by a friend of mine, Pete Antico. So there are some red carpet photos out there of me at Ronda Rousey's premiere. So I thought that's what you were referring to.
Ah, gotcha. Well, that's still pretty cool. You get to go to the premiere, and did you enjoy the movie?
I loved it. Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I'm a Ronda fan. I remember very clearly watching her first UFC fight and just being completely blown away by her. And that was a very, very inspiring moment for me, honestly.
It was. Like, I watched that fight as well. I know what you watched. Yeah. I remember when she debuted, and it was something.
It was very powerful.
It was definitely powerful, and it was inspirational to every woman
for sure
who wanted to be a part of the sport or any kind of sport. Really, it gave them something. Hey, not just men can do this; women can also do this as well.
Yeah,
and I'm glad.
I think it was actually the first moment that I truthfully considered that I wanted to be fighting. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew I wanted to be involved in some sort of martial arts. Was watching Ronda. Like, she definitely was a big influence for me.
Yeah, definitely. And so you now you've done all these other fantastic jobs, and I want to compare them in a minute, but you now decided to jump into a wrestling wing and start to get trained. How did that all come about? And have you been a wrestling fan since you were young, or how did it all come about? Okay,
so in reality, I didn't grow up with wrestling because wrestling wasn't popular in Brazil, sadly. Gotcha. So I don't really have the backstory that a lot of people had, like, oh, I grew up watching wrestling with my grandfather or my father or whatever. Like, I don't have that background. In Brazil, it's more like jiu-jitsu and MMA, boxing. And I don't think people really understand wrestling in Brazil. I would like to see that change, and I would like to be a part of changing that. But I think I fell in love with wrestling. I'm already in my adult life, and I'm already living in Hollywood. When I actually started paying attention to wrestling and falling in love with wrestling.
Hmm.
But I never thought that it was something that I wanted to do, because I didn't think I was capable of doing anything like that. Like I wasn't an athlete. Um, but I did. After I saw Ronda in that fight,
Oh
I
yeah.
started having MMA training.
Oh wow.
Um, but I didn't want to go into it professionally. I just wanted to learn,
Yeah.
basically, and I enjoyed going through the motions of it. I started training with Eddie Jackson. Shout out to Eddie Jackson. He's a professional MMA fighter, and I worked out with him for, I guess, like 3 or 4 years. And I knew I still wanted to like release that kind of like aggressive energy somehow, but I didn't know through what fight form. Um, and then like when I decided to join professional wrestling, it was only a year ago.
It is crazy.
And
It is
it
crazy
is crazy.
how short time you've been in it and made a
Yeah,
great impact as well.
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And just like I mentioned before, like I was feeling very depressed when I wrote my first book. The wrestling comes from a similar place, which was a moment that I was feeling very depressed. I was going through some dark times last year, and I was feeling very lost and purposeless, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I wanted to find a way of feeling powerful and feeling strong and feeling capable and sort of uh, reinventing myself, transforming myself. And I was watching, I think it was WWE. I can't remember exactly what match it was, but it was probably like Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. And I was just watching them and thinking, what if I could do this? What if I could learn this? And like I truthfully started thinking to myself, like, if I knew how to wrestle, I think that I would be the happiest person in the world. And it really, like, it almost makes me tear up to say that, because it was such an honest feeling that I had, and it was something that I'd never considered before, ever. And I felt like it was kind of a calling. I can't really put it in any other way than I felt like it was a calling. And I immediately started looking for wrestling schools, and I wanted to get out of LA for a bit at the time, and I found a wrestling school in Vegas, FSW. I'm also
Oh
very
yes.
grateful to them. That's where it all started for me, and they welcomed me, and they were great. I was a complete beginner, so I moved to Vegas out of the blue, like just like that. I made the decision. I'm moving to Vegas to be a wrestler.
Nice.
And I was out there like living in the casinos, and I was basically like hopping from hotel to hotel according to the weekly deals.
Oh wow.
So like if this week Hooters is cheaper, this week I live at Hooters.
Yeah.
If this week Circus is cheaper, I live at Circus. So I lived in every single fucking hotel in Vegas probably.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
my.
and like that was kind of my way that I found of healing the thing that I was going through at the
Yeah.
time. So, I was out there on my own, and I was trying something new, and I was going to wrestling school, and that's how it started. And then I was out there for I guess it was 4 or 5 months, until I couldn't take being in Vegas anymore, and I had to come back to my life in LA and go back to working.
Yeah. come back
Yeah.
to reality.
Come back,
kind of thing.
come back to reality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The reality isn't really Vegas casinos every day, every hour.
No.
But I had the best time ever. I'm so grateful that FSW was so welcoming to me, and I felt like I felt like a fish out of the water. Like I was such a beginner, and they made me feel like it was something that I could learn.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and then of course that's Future Stars Wrestling. I think that's right. That's the
Yeah,
name of this.
that's right.
They're based in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yep.
One of my favorite cities in the world. And by the way, this picture you can't see this, but on for the YouTube views behind me, this is actually based off Las Vegas. So there you go. That's my favorite city in the world.
Nice.
Of course, apart from Manchester, UK, as I said on the show many times in the past, the best city in the world. Better than Las Vegas and Los Angeles.
Nice.
Again, I don't really say it anymore because I'm not really a heel on the show anymore. So there you go. And then you came out to California, good old Hollywood. And then did you go to a championship for Hollywood? Is that the right company?
No.
You didn't go
Then
there.
I was back. Then I was back here, and I was sort of in a crossroad where I didn't know if I should go back to Vegas or, I really wanted to continue the training. I was really happy training. I really fell in love with it, and it was really something that I wanted to give my all to. But it just wasn't working out to be living in hotels.
True.
as you can imagine.
Yes.
So, and it all happened like kind of suddenly. I met Royce Isaacs out here. Actually, I met him in Vegas.
Gotcha.
When I was in school. I watched one of his matches there, and that's when I met him. But he lives in LA too.
That's awesome.
So we eventually met out here, and I asked him if he could maybe help me out with my training. And then we started hanging out, and he started training me. And this was before anything with the NWA had happened at all. But Royce was already in the roster. Royce was already in NWA Power. You know what I mean? Like, he's had a long career already. He's already very respected. So it was like really cool that he agreed to work with me. And pretty much, okay, so this is like a side story of how I got to the NWA, which I think that's where we're going.
Well, you could be wrong, but I
all
love
right,
to hear
I
the
won't
story.
go there then.
No, please do. I would love to hear the story, but I mean, we can, we will mention it, but I mean, just go ahead. I'll love to hear the story.
That's pretty much the answer. So then I started training with Royce, and Royce became my trainer out here.
Nice, and then you then went into the NWA. How did that happen? Did they? Did they reach out to you? Or come on, let's tell.
Yes. That's another crazy story. So like I've been a fan of Billy Corgan since I was a teenager. I'm a big like Smashing Pumpkins fan.
Yeah. Before you go any further, sorry to interrupt you. Now for our UK viewers, we've not really heard of the band Smashing Pumpkins, so we're quite I know it's either because some of them are quite young like myself, and we might not have heard of it, but I know I know it's a big band. I'll
send you the songs that you have to go to first so you can fall in love with them.
Yes, please do.
Anyways, like. So I kind of had met him out here in the working in the music industry. I met him for the first time during an interview that he did for 98.7. He was promoting an album at that time, and he was very nice to me. He signed my album, so I kind of knew him just like as a industry person or as a fan. And then, like 1 year prior to the decision into going into wrestling school, I was cast in a Smashing Pumpkins music video. That's like something that I do out here too. Like I love being in music videos, and I've been lucky to have been in a few. And so I was casted in a Smashing Pumpkins music video.
That's dope.
Billy was directing the video. It was for Silvery Sometimes. And then 1 year after that, I think Billy came to my page, and it happened to be when I was in wrestling school. And even more coincidentally, I was wearing a Smashing Pumpkins shirt. And he started talking to me, asking if I was wrestling, if I wanted to wrestle, and that's pretty much when we started talking about the possibility of me joining the NWA. Nice. Yeah.
And before you go any further, we got a live comment coming on YouTube, on our YouTube chat. It's all suggested to do so. This is a good name. I'm going to have a pronunciation problem here. I'm just going to pronounce the first name because I think it's Brazilian.
Okay.
It's Dan Ilala. So,
Daniela.
yeah, for everybody but mispronunciation, they put the best writer, and I have to agree with that. You
Oh,
are a best writer,
thank you so
best
much.
selling writer.
Is it Daniela?
Yes.
Ok. Oi, Daniela. Obrigada.
And so you then joined the NWA, of course, not by your Mayra Diaz Gomes name,
No.
which people were quite shocked about, and you go by the name of May Valentino. Is that right, or
May
Valentino?
Valentine.
Valentine. Sorry, my mistake.
Yep.
I've read
May
this.
Valentine.
Which is a unique name. And how did you come up with the name? Did Billy or anybody else from the NWA or your trainer help you to come up with the name?
It's another crazy story. I guess every story in my life is a crazy story.
You've had some of the best experiences and some fantastic stories. So
Thanks.
this is a perfect person to have on the show. Someone who's inspirational to say, follow your dreams.
Yeah.
You never know what may happen next. So you are very
That's true.
inspirational.
That is really the truth. So who came up with my name? Actually, I'm not even aware. I don't even know if he remembers this. But it was actually David Arquette. You know who David Arquette is? He's an actor and he's also a wrestler. And he happened to be present when Royce and I were discussing possibilities of names. Billy Corgan was also involved in trying to figure out the right name for me. And it was actually David Arquette who suggested May Valentine. And we all started thinking about it, and we were like, that sounds perfect. I don't know why, that just has a ring to it. May Valentine it is. And I don't even know if David is aware that it comes from his suggestion.
Well, if David were to see this, he will now. So
yeah.
So it'd be.
I was planning on telling him sometime soon.
well, it's come on this show here in the UK, so fingers crossed you'll find this through the YouTube search and however YouTube works, kind of thing. Fingers crossed you will. So let's talk about your social medias again and tell people why they should follow you on Instagram and Twitter. Again, I told them that you've got a big following on there, which you do, and you rightly deserve it. And why should people follow you on social media to keep with all things?
You should follow me because I'm like so amazing. I don't know if you've seen my blog, but like I'm really amazing, and my life is so amazing. I'm just kidding. No, I'm doing really cool stuff right now. I'm very proud to be a part of NWA Power. I think it's an amazing show. I really enjoy it, like as a fan. I find it very, very exciting. It's a completely different kind of wrestling. I mean, it's a resurgence of wrestling, but it also has like a component of modern wrestling to it. And I think it's a great mix. The show is very exciting. It has some really, really, really talented people, and it's just so much fun. If you're not a fan of wrestling, I would ask you to give it a chance. Maybe just go to one episode and see what you think, and I guarantee you'll be hooked. So if you follow me, you'll get tons of updates on NWA Power and all of our upcoming events. We have pay-per-view coming up, the Crockett Cup, which is a tag team tournament. It's happening in a much bigger venue than the one that we usually film in. It's a 5,000 people arena in Atlanta, Georgia, and the tickets are for sale. And that's going to be an amazing event, followed by 2 nights of NWA Power tapings. So if you follow me, you'll know everything about all of our upcoming events.
There you go. Okay, and I should plug this as well, if I might get in trouble. Someone will yell at me saying, why don't you plug this? And you can catch new episodes of NWA Power every Tuesday night at 6:05 p.m. Eastern. I don't know why. It's like at 6:05. Couldn't he just die at 6 p.m. Eastern? But anyway, 5 minutes later, 6:05 p.m. Eastern, 11:05 p.m. here in the UK. Just say, and for people who maybe want to correct this, this weekend your clocks go forward an hour in the US. 2 weeks before our clocks go forward an hour. So, for us here in the UK, next week here in the UK, next Tuesday's episode of NWA Power will be on at 10:05 p.m. UK time instead of 11:05 because your clocks go forward an hour. Means you'll come 4 hours behind the East Coast and 7 hours behind the West Coast from where we are. So it means we'll get an hour earlier than planned. So check it out. 10:05 p.m. UK time next Tuesday on YouTube only. And that person.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you do your thing.
Okay. I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Daniela, who wrote in our YouTube chat room before, has wrote another comment saying, "It's me, Master. It is the profile of the relative. I adore you. You're oh my word. You're discernible links. Linx. I don't understand that last bit, but hey ho.
I'll go back and read it.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Apologize for that, but I think it's a good message. I hope anyway. But what were you going to say before I interrupted you?
No. I just wanted to pretty much to summarize a few of the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
And we talked about like how, you know, in a moment of darkness, I wrote my first book, and that book became a bestseller. And the same for in a moment of darkness, I decided that I was going to try this crazy, insane thing called wrestling, and it brought me into the NWA. And I guess I just wanted to kind of emphasize that message. You know, that sometimes we need these dark moments to transform our lives. Mm-hmm. And I think like my message, or, you know, part of what you can take from my story is, you know, to always try to use these bad moments and turn them into power. And that's pretty much turn them into power.
I like that, into power. To came at the end of the power. I like it. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know if that was a link, but I do like that message.
Exactly.
We got another message on YouTube. It comes from Roberta. Hi, Roberta. He says he loves you. So there you go.
Oh, that's my best friend in Brazil.
Ah, well, there you go. So he's showing his support here tonight, live on YouTube on the Fowler Show, the best UK podcast. People say I don't think it is the best UK podcast. It's the best kept secret on YouTube, however. But I don't know about the best in the UK. Some people said, of course, you know who Jared Fritz is. You saw his video he did for my show. He called it the best wrestling podcast in the UK. Again, we just don't do wrestling. We do other things on this show as well. We interviewed a football player last week. David Pindell was on the show last week. You know, and you know, the undrafted NFL player who's hoping to get an opportunity in the NFL or the XFL coming soon. So we do other things than just wrestling as well. And of course, we've had on Mayra Gomes, who does other things from wrestling as well. So, you know, it might be all related to connection to wrestling, but you know, we don't want to talk about wrestling all the time. Let's talk to you.
We don't?
Oh no, not always, but
that's all we talk about.
And, maybe this one anyway. But we did get a few questions in on Twitter over the when I announced this. Did you see them? If not, we're going to show one now.
No, I did not see them.
Okay, right. This one came in on Instagram to start off with. This came on when you posted on your story. Kevin.505 wrote in. You've interviewed and met a lot of musicians and actors. Who were the most interesting? We may have covered this earlier on, but
we talked a little bit about.
What about the musicians?
I think I answered Kevin's question a little bit.
Yeah. What about the musicians then? We not talk about them.
God, musicians. There are so many. I'm gonna go back to what I said before. I think Marilyn Manson is my landmark musician that I am proud to have interviewed, just because I am a huge fan of his music and his entire persona, how he built his entire persona, and his brain. He's so intelligent. Marilyn Manson really was a landmark interview for me.
Is he? Now again, I could be wrong about this, but is he the one who did that song, the most one of the most recognizable songs ever, "The Beautiful People"? Was that somebody else?
Yes,
Oh, it is. Oh, good.
that is Marilyn Manson.
I thought it was.
Actually, I have his
Oh yeah.
signature
Oh yeah. You
tattooed
do. Oh
on
wow.
my shoulder.
Yeah.
So when you guys see this MM,
Now you know what it means.
he actually did that.
He did. Wow.
Yep.
Are you?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, Abby, that's wonderful. That's a good memory, and he's one of my favorite singers. I love that song, "The Beautiful People." I got it on my own custom CD if I made.
And then I have some. There are so many people that I could say. Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper,
is
yeah.
A really amazing musician and a human being. I am always blown away about how cool and humble Alice Cooper is. So I always like talking to him. And you mentioned Backstreet Boys before.
I did.
I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention Backstreet Boys. Everyone knows I have a Backstreet Boys hit story in my life. It's a long and beautiful story with the Backstreet Boys.
that is cool, and they are one of the most talked about bands around the world, and it's wonderful how you're able to connect with some of these favorite bands. Also, as well, could be wrong. You may have interviewed these people. I'm not sure, but I know you met them backstage. Papa Roach as well. Well, again, one of my
love Papa Roach.
One of my favorite
them. Bands of all time. I met Kobe for the first time when I was 14 years old. Actually,
wow.
Before I ever became a journalist. I was obsessed with Papa Roach when I was a teenager, and I cannot tell you how many Papa Roach concerts I have been to. I probably went to every show they've played in the United States. Not in the United States, in Los Angeles. Since I moved here, I love them, and I love everyone in the band. I love their music. I've had the opportunity to hang out with them many times.
Oh, that's good.
And I was also in one of their music videos, even though I'm just in the background. But it was still a cool experience.
You can say, I was there, you can see me in the background, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's a song that I really love, Born for Greatness.
Born for Greatness.
So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that's a really cool song.
There you go, Born for Greatness. There you go. Check it out right now on YouTube, the music video on youtube.com. Check it out and see if you can spot Mayra Diaz Gomes. If you do, take a picture of it.
There's like blonde hair headbanging in the background, something like that.
Check it out, screenshot it, tag me and Mayra in the picture, and I will retweet it on my social media and say, there you go, you listen to it.
It's funny, the director of that music video is actually my friend, Bryson, if Bryson ever watches this. Bryson is Kobe's brother. Wow. And he directs a lot of the Papa Roach music videos. Nice.
Well, he's done an awesome job on all the music videos. I enjoy all of them, and keep up the top work. Truly good at at his job. And he's got a good brother.
Yeah.
Now the other question we have in as well. 2 more questions from our social media. Hashtag in the Fowler show is what not to do here. So the other one came in on Twitter from Angel Blake, who then wrote this tweet and then followed me on Twitter.
She's a Brazilian pro wrestler.
Right. Well, okay.
Yeah. I have recently discovered her. She started following me, so I follow her stuff now.
Yeah.
And I'm started following the Brazilian pro wrestling scene through following her.
Gotcha. That's very good. Yeah. And is it getting to a point where it's starting to get a big reaction in Brazil? Do you think?
Certainly, that's what we hope. I think it's very much in the beginning.
Okay.
And I think there are only either 4 or 5 Brazilians working in pro wrestling worldwide.
Really? Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Wow. Did not know that information. There you go. We learn something new every day here. And her question was, what's next for her career? Well, obviously it's pro wrestling, unless it's something else after that, as you said before.
I plan on sticking to wrestling. what's next is my wrestling debut, I guess. It's
Yeah.
going to be coming up sometime soon.
Fingers crossed. She's keeping it under wraps, so it could be either at the pay-per-view, maybe, or maybe it could be on a future episode of the NWA Power. You have to tune in 6:05 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, or again 11:05 p.m. UK time for the next 2 weeks. It's 10:05 p.m. because of their clocks going forward. Before ours. Ours go back at a normal time at the end of the month, where normal people do stuff at the end of the month. Is it normal? The Americans like to do it early. Don't know why. Anyway, the other thing I want to mention as well, the pay-per-view, which you mentioned before, will be on Fight TV, I'm guessing. I want to give them a plug because they follow me on Twitter. So there you go. Fight TV at...
worldwide on Fight TV. That's right.
Worldwide. Means you go to in Brazil, America, England, Germany.
That's right.
Anywhere in the world you can watch it.
So if you guys can't be there, if you can't be in Atlanta, there are no excuses. You can watch it on Fight TV.
And see what happens. See what Mayra gets up to at the people.
And hopefully Royce will win the tag title back,
Yeah.
So.
Well, we will see. Maybe you can somehow get involved or something. Who knows? You have to tune in and find out.
That's right.
And our final question on Twitter came in as well on that day from a guy called Rich Edward 1 at Rich Edward 1. Thank you for your treat. He says, "Who would you rather face in the ring? At Camille Brick or Thunder Rosa 22?" That's a good question.
That's not fair. I was gonna say either Camille or Thunder Rosa, so he pretty much answered it himself.
Okay. And you've also, again...
Well, at the last taping, Thunder Rosa did turn to me and say, "I will be your first match, Barbie."
Oh, really?
So we'll see.
Oh, wow.
We'll see if that ever happens.
Well, how did you react to being compared to Barbie?
I think it's fun. It's just a fun thing. I like the aesthetic of it, and I mean, Barbie pretty much is an independent girl who can do it all. Barbie can do anything, and she's got it all too. She can be a veterinarian, she can be a doctor, she can be a writer, she can be anything, and she's got her own mansion, she's got her own cars. She doesn't really need Ken, but she chooses to be with Ken.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Barbie's cool.
But like you got, I'm going to say, because I've seen some pictures and videos, I could be wrong, I think you've got a mansion, you've got a nice swimming pool, you've got maybe a lovely car, I'm going to guess here. So yeah, I can see why she compared you.
I mean, I pretty much am Barbie.
Yeah.
So.
The modern day version of Barbie. There we go. Now, also as well, last week, I think it was, or maybe the week before, I can't remember what we had on Goldilocks. We mentioned again, third time plug for her now on this show. There you go. She said on this show she's coming back on in April next month here on the Fowler show, which I can't wait for. She's going to be talking about this music video, which is for suicide prevention, I think it is.
That's right.
If I can remember from the other week, I interviewed so many people, and I think it's a great cause what she's doing, and I support it, and I wish I could, somehow give her some money to show that. And you were there with some of her great music and wrestling talent. Now, without spoiling everything, now she did release some pictures and on Twitter and Instagram and things like that. But what a great bunch of people to be around to shoot this great course. For sure.
Yeah, I was very happy to be introduced to Goldie. She's a wonderful person. Once she told me about the project, I was all for it. It's something that I'm personally passionate about also. I've lost friends to suicide before. So yeah, I was very happy to be a part of that project, and I play a role that is very, very different from anything that I have ever played. Like, you would not expect me to be playing that role, especially because I usually get stereotypical type roles. Right. From my looks.
Right.
So this is very, very different from everything. It was a huge challenge for me, a very emotionally charged scene. And I'm very happy that Goldie trusted me with that role. And also very grateful to James Storm, who was the person that introduced me to Goldie.
Wow, there we go. Look at that, James Storm. He's been getting a lot of plugs on the Fowler show now for the past 4 weeks on the show now. So there you go. First time with Wildcat Chris Harris. So thanks to Chris Harris for starting out the James Storm plugs on the Fowler show. Who maybe who knows, and then we had on Jared Fritz as well. He mentioned James Storm as well.
Maybe he will be our next guest.
He's going to be what?
Maybe he will be your next guest.
Maybe. I doubt it. He's quite a busy man. He's quite a busy man. And,
I'm sure.
We got another comment coming in just quickly here before we wrap this up. Links Bonardi. Life.
I know him as well.
Okay, that's good. I thought it's not Life. I caught the sentence.
He's an aspiring Brazilian writer, and he's very, very talented. He's a young boy who is putting together his own library, and he's accepting donations of books. Basically, he's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. And his comment is, "Tell 5 books that changed your life."
5 books that changed my life.
Ooh.
Okay.
On the spot. As we go on the Fowler show. I like the question. Fantastic question.
Okay. I would say On the Road by Jack Kerouac was a very important book for me. I'm sure most people have read that book, and if you haven't, you should have.
Right. Okay. Well, I feel embarrassed for not reading that book. So
it's an amazing book. Catcher in the Rye, I think, was a very important book for me growing up. Let's see. Oh, well, I would say my dad's autobiography. Unfortunately, it's not in English, but to the Brazilian people out there who are watching, it's called Apenas Subversivo. It's a fantastic thing for me to be able to read my dad's thoughts, and how he viewed everything, how he viewed life, and his whole history of how everything started, and how much we are alike in everything. Let me see what else. God, it's so hard because there are so many books, and
we didn't prepare this either. We didn't prepare for this question either. So I like this on the spot question. Well, I mean,
say what?
And the thing is, like, we didn't really prepare for this question either. So it's like you didn't plan for it. So it's like on the spot.
Yeah. There was this book called Hell by a French writer called Lolita Pille. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
My French is not great. That was a very life-changing book for me, because I think it was the first time that I saw myself in an author. She was a young girl from Paris. This was her first book, and she became a bestseller, pretty much narrating her own life and the life of her friends, and in a very raw and honest manner as well. And I think when I read that book was when I had the courage to write my own hell. So I would have to say that was a very influential book for me also.
Yeah.
I
think is that 3 books?
That's 4.
4 books. There we go. I couldn't remember 3 or 4. There we go. There you go.
Okay, and okay, I have 2 more.
Oh, go.
Girl Interrupted, and Prozac Nation. Those were very life-changing. Those changed my life a lot.
Cool books. And again, as Mayra said, if you've never checked them out, do so. As there are some brilliant books. I need to do some reading, and I've never read any of them books at all. So I feel very uneducated in these books and feel embarrassed. So I need to read these books. So
don't feel embarrassed. Just go for them.
Go
Just
for it.
Find them.
Find them and
change your life.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
And then one more book I would like to recommend.
Yeah, go ahead. This is your show, not mine.
And that is a plug for Damien Echols, which is somebody that I have interviewed for Rolling Stone. It was my first story to be on the cover of Rolling Stone was an interview with Damien Echols. Damien was a boy who I think he was 18 years old, was accused of a heinous crime along his two friends, and he was wrongfully convicted for this murder that he did not commit. And he was sent to death row when he was 18 years old. I think he was 18. I'm sorry if that's not the right age, but I think he was 18. And he spent 18 years in death row.
Wow.
Yeah. Fighting off this case, which he was innocent of. I also have Damien's tattoo on me. I don't know if you can see it.
I see. Oh, yeah.
That's his signature.
Oh, yeah. Did he do that himself, or did you?
He did that himself also.
Wow.
And I was one of many people who were, just completely affected by this case, by the injustice in this case. And at the time, several musicians, Pearl Jam, Metallica, Marilyn Manson, Johnny Depp, got together to sort of raise awareness for his case. He was basically convicted in Oops. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly. Nothing happened on my side.
He was basically convicted on the way that he looked and the books that he read and the music that he listened to. He was sort of a goth-looking kid. He liked, horror movies and horror books. It's like he listened to heavy metal. And in the town that he was from, that was seen as satanic. So that was part of what convicted him to death row.
Gotcha.
Of a crime he didn't commit. This is a very, 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 emotional subject for me. But, I was able to have contact with Damien after DNA evidence proved that he was innocent and he was released from death row. He was the only man to ever be released from Arkansas death row. Wow. And when he came out of prison, I had the opportunity to speak with him and attend some of his events. And he became a best-selling author. So that's the book I'm recommending, called Life After Death.
Well, that's good. And I'm so glad about the DNA evidence. If DNA evidence did not improve, then who knows what may have happened to him as well. So I'm glad.
And a lot of people were working on donations at the time to run these DNA tests. So it was a battle that a lot of people were fighting to get these boys freed.
Yeah.
There's documentaries about it too. There's a lot of stuff that you can read about it, and it's a very, very interesting case.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. And as well, Links Bronde, again, sorry for mispronunciation. You say, where did the name Mayra come from? We discussed that early on in the show. So at the end of the show, just rewind when we talk about the NWA, and you can catch that moment there. We're going to end this in a moment. My last question to you.
Also, my battery is almost dying, guys.
Yeah. So, yeah, we need to wrap this up. My last question to you is, who would you suggest me to get in contact with to come on this show? Goldilocks recommended me to have you on the show. She helped me kind of to have you to get you on the show, so we appreciate that. So, over to you now. On the spot question again.
My boyfriend, Royce Isaacs. He should be your next guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have him on and ask about me.
Well, if we can get him on the show, then definitely will do. We will definitely
Okay.
will do. That's definitely will. Okay.
Let's make that happen.
Let's make it happen indeed. There you go.
Yeah.
Again, it's been an absolute privilege having on Mayra Diaz Gomes. Now, of course, in April, the music video comes out, which we spoke about, the suicide prevention. Music video comes out on Goldilocks' social medias. So find her on Twitter and Instagram. Goldilocks Walks is the Twitter and Instagram you need to find her on. And I'm sure Mayra Diaz Gomez will retweet it and plug it on her social media as well. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram, Mayra Diaz Gomez. Now, you may be coming back on the show again. I don't know who is meant to come on the show if Goldilocks in April. So if we see you again in April,
All right.
I don't know.
I'll see you again in April.
Yeah, okay. We'll see you back in April. Okay, we look forward to it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely.
You're welcome. And I hope you do come back on the show again in the future, after April. kind of thing as well. But yeah, enjoy your day in Hollywood. And from all of us here on the
and have a good night.
Thank you.
All right.
I think Mayra is going to end the call on her side. We're going to say goodbye on our side now. You can find me on social media.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Best Kept Secret on YouTube as well. Here you go. All
right.
You can find me on social media, _Edward Fowler_. You can find me on Instagram, Edward Fowler Show. I have the same amount of followers on Instagram as I do as subscribers here on YouTube. So thank you so much for that. I've got way more followers on Twitter with 879 followers on Twitter. So thank you to everyone who's following me on Twitter and Instagram. Keep it up. And if you've not subscribed here on YouTube, why haven't you? Please do. If you enjoyed the show here today.
And subscribe to the NWA YouTube too.
There you go. Subscribe to the NWA Power YouTube channel, NWA on YouTube.
YouTube.com/NWA.
There you go. YouTube.com/NWA. There you go. Indeed. People say when I say .com, they think I'm doing an American accent. It's just where I do the .com.
.com.
Yeah, .com. But yeah, there you go. Subscribe to my channel here if you enjoyed the content. We interview loads of different people, and you would not believe who we've got on the show next for you. So I'm hoping to announce that in a few days or weeks. So please do keep that in the loop. By subscribing with notifications on, means you're notified every time when a live podcast comes out. We are different from the Chris Van Vliets and the Elisa Toots of the world, where they had to pre-record their podcast like it's 2008, while we are in 2020 and we do it live, uncut, unedited, where anything could happen. So again, thank you so much, and until the next episode drops, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too.